Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 65 of the Fair Housing Insiders. Today, we are focusing on translation services as a reasonable accommodation. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. Well, we want to welcome you to the Fair Housing Insiders. This is episode 65. I am your host, Jonathan Saar, and with me today is Leslie Tucker from Williams, Edelstein, and Tucker. So we look forward to getting into this topic of translation services as a reasonable accommodation. A couple of housekeeping items. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to our show. We really love all those thumbs up that you give us for producing these episodes. We're grateful to you as a community. Also, don't miss out on our newsletter. You can sign up for that at fairhousinginstitute.com. And if you're on social media, we recommend that you follow us, like us on Instagram at Fair Housing Institute. So to get our show kicked off, we're going to look at a quick scenario where a prospect enters the leasing office with a family member who requests an interpreter. And then we'll get Leslie's comments on that.
It's so nice to meet you. What can I do for you today, Miss Wong?
My parents here are interested in touring your property.
Great. Let me get my tablet so we can look through the different floor plans we have available, and I can take all of you on a tour of the property and the units you prefer to see.
I'm sorry, I have to be at work in 20 minutes. Do you have an ASL interpreter available? Because my parents are both deaf and I can't stay.
Nice little scenario. Really helps paint the picture for us. So Leslie, some people may not think of translation services as something they may need to consider as a reasonable accommodation. When might this situation arise, and how should a staff person handle it?
Well, I think that our scenario is a great example of how this situation can arise. Someone comes into your leasing office as a prospect, as someone who is wanting to apply or just inquire, and they either are deaf or hard of hearing, or they are with someone who is deaf or hard of hearing. And you as a housing provider are tasked with, being required to communicate with this person. They may specifically request an ASL interpreter. If that happens, that's obviously a request for a reasonable accommodation. So it's important that you kind of recognize that as a reasonable accommodation. And even though you certainly aren't going to, in this situation, you're not going to process it in the sense that you don't really need to verify these types of requests, right? Because they are already obvious why someone may not be able to speak with you like other people may be. This person has some sort of disability that, you need to change your method of communication for. So that is what the accommodation is. And in our scenario, it kind of seems like, and some of you may be thinking this, well, why doesn't the leasing agent just ask the parents to come back when their daughter is available to maybe translate for them? And that might be something that you might think is sort of an obvious answer. And, maybe to your surprise, the law doesn't work that way. You cannot require someone to bring their own interpreter with them. The onus is really on you as a housing provider to make that accommodation for them. They don't have to make it easy on you to communicate with them, if that, maybe seems like the obvious answer. So, what does that accommodation look like? It could be, you might need to figure out how is the best way to communicate with them. That might be writing notes on just a notepad. It might be getting a whiteboard out with a dry erase marker and writing notes back and forth. It might be texting on your cell phones back and forth. So there are other methods of communication that you can convey information back and forth with a deaf or hard of hearing prospect or applicant or tenant for that matter, if they're living there. Sometimes an ASL interpreter isn't necessary. That may be one method that they maybe they prefer, maybe they might ask for it, but it's always possible to accommodate someone. I shouldn't say always, it's oftentimes possible to accommodate someone in different alternative methods. So as long as that method is effective for them, then you should be able to communicate with them in kind of different ways, and that's just going to be up to you to propose.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that explanation. So, an ASL interpreter isn't something that must be automatically provided for a prospect or tenant with a hearing disability?
No, not necessarily. Like I said, there can be other methods that would work for a lot of people out there as long as they can read and write. In to effectively communicate. An ASL interpreter is one method, but it's not always the quickest or easiest thing to secure, kind of at a moment's notice, for a leasing agent. So it may be more convenient or just as effective for the disabled person to communicate in other methods.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, and an excellent suggestion. So thank you. What an important topic. I appreciate you being on the show, Leslie. As always, we're grateful to you and to your firm for the services it provides to the property management housing industry. So thank you everyone for tuning in to our show. This has been episode 65. Again, if you like this show, please give us those thumbs up. We appreciate your support. Please share this with your network. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like to talk for us to talk about, feel free to message us. Until next time, thank you, everyone.